just have to finish off the Nakudas. We're in the middle of page Chamishi. So last time we were discussing the Chidushim that the Rebbe speaks in this Maimah, that you have to say the Kavan is dafka down here. So the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, the reason why you have to say the Kavan is down here is because you can't say the Kavan is in Olam Misilyanim, is Hoyel V'lahem Yeridim O'Panav Yisbarach. So last time we explained what the simple pshat in Tanya is, Hoyel V'lahem Yeridim O'Panav Yisbarach, and the Hisof of the Rebbe in this Maimah. And the second point that the Rebbe says, that you can't say the Kavan is Olam Misilyanim because you can't say the Atzmus is Bishvil Giluim. That we spoke about last time. So how does the Perek down to finish off? You're going to have to say that the Kavanah is Dafka Olam Hazeh. Why is Dafka Olam Hazeh a Keli to the Inyan of Atzmus? Dafka the Kavanah is in Olam Hazeh. So that's where the Rebbe continues to bring down from the Dikla Rebbe that the Ishavas of Olam Hazeh is in such an oifen that it's magish itself as a yesh. And the fact that it's a yesh, that Einloi Sibba Shekod Maloi, the Lashon of the Maim is Shenid Maloi, it's Nidmet Olam Hazeh, She'ene Gilui, Ki'im Atzmi. Haine Mitziyuse Me'atzmuse. Is since Olam Hazeh has this tchuna, that it's nishave in such an oifen that it's a yesh, that looks like an atzmi, that it has no mocker, it's mitziyusim atzmusay. Therefore, this is the kavanah. In other words, this world tells you that his kavanah is that the kavanah is in him. So again, to repeat, we said last time, there's nowhere anywhere that's going to say, you know why the Eibishter wants Olam Hazeh is because there's a Maila in Olam Hazeh, or there's some reason behind it. Nisava always means that it's Nisava, it's a taiva without a reason. But la'achri that we have said Ishtalshalis is then we can look back and say, now that we see an Olam Hazeh, which is a yesh, to such an extent that it's nidmalei, that he's an atzmi, that mitziyusim atzmusei, that tells us that the kavan is over here. Or as the Lashon says in many places, the fact that it's his havas is an oifen of yesh mamish, he's a keli to the yesh amiti. The yesh nivra is a keli to the yesh amiti. In other words, giluyim are not a keli to the yesh amiti. La'achrei that the Eibishter made a yesh, like the Hazeh Gashmi, which is a yesh mamish, which looks like Mitzvah Matzmuseh, that makes him a keli to the inyan of yesh. Because in other words, how can you have such a yesh, which is an atzmi, which is Mitzvah Matzmuseh? How can it even be nidmaloi that Mitzvah Matzmuseh? The only one that can give the Gashmi such a hergish, so to speak, that Mitzvah is Matzmuseh, that can only come from Atzmus. That's the famous word from the Mittel Rebbe, Yeshua Nivri Hua Yeshua Amiti. The fact that he's such a yesh can only come from Atzmus. No other place can give such a hergish of yeshus. Which, just by the way, this Bremerson presents a shtickle shayla. Which the shayla is lav dafka over here, but I'll bring you in over here. How do we get to a yesh agashmi of this world? That he's such a yesh that he's nidmule, that he's an atzmi. The tachlis hayesh of this world. So we just now said that there's dafka mitzad ha'atzmus. Dafka atzmus, that he is taka mitziyusim atzmusay, he can make such a yesh like Olam Hazeh. Now, if somebody learns Shayichel V'emunah and hasn't learned that Nakuda, remember we spoke last time, the whole inyan of Ishavas Agashus Me'atzmusay is something that was Nischadish in Siman Chof, which is an Igeres which the Alter Rebbe wrote, Korov D'Istalkusay. The whole inyan is of Ishavas Agashmis Me'atzmus is a Chidush that came later on. They didn't know about that until Siman Chof of Igeres HaKodesh, which was written shortly before Chof Dalet Tevis. So, how did Olam Pshat in Shayichel V'emunah, how do you get to a Yesh Gashmi, a Yesh Nivra that's margish himself as a Yesh? Well, what's the Pshat in Shayichel V'emunah? How do you get to a Yesh? According to what it says in Shayichel V'emunah, you have the Yeridus of Oisius, of Dvar Havaya, and the Oisius are a Tzimtzum and a Hester, and that's the Koyach of Shem Elikim, that Lamrois, that the Shem Havaya is being Mahava, the Nivra Yesh Me'ayin, At the same time, the Shem Elokim is being master and allowing for a yesh. So the nivra does not know that he's being nishav yesh miyayin. If he would see the Shem Havaya, so it would be bottled the Metzias. How does it become a yesh? That's through the Koyach HaHester of Shem Elokim. Koyach HaHester of Shem Elokim. So how do you get to a yesh? Through tzimtzum, through Hester. And what does it say in Igeres HaKodesh or over here, which is bringing from Igeres HaKodesh and from the Mitler Rebbe and Biur HaZohar, that how do you get to such a yeshes of a nivra? Koyach HaAtzmus. Because Atzmus is a yesh ha'amiti. Is dafka. He can make such a yesh and hazard. But until you got into Simon Chav, before that came around, how did you get to such a yesh? It was a simple system of Sedish Nashus. You have Oiris and Kalim, Tzimtzumim, and it becomes more and more B'tzimtzum, until you have a hell of a Hester Lagami. And the Nivra sees himself as a yesh, as a yesha. Kilo, he doesn't need a mocker. So the question is, either way, do you need Koyach HaAtzmus to be Mahava Yesh? Or don't you need Koyach HaAtzmus? From Shayichad V'Amunah, it's Mashma, you don't need the Koyach HaAtzmus. You can manage with Tzimtzumim, which is Shem Elokim. Good question? Get the question? Straightforward question. In other words, we're really not asking over here, it's asking in Tanya itself. Shayichad V'Amunah gives one beer, and the Geras HaKodesh gives a different view. But if we medayik a little bit in the lashon over here, we'll see that there's a different lashon which you don't find, and that Bemerson gives away the whole nakuda over here. The lashon of the Maimah over here is that the Olam Hazeh is nidmale she'ena gilui ki'im atzmi. Atzmi doesn't mean a davar bifnei atzmi. What does atzmi mean? What's it if you say that the Metzias HaYesh is a davar bifnei atzmi, or you say the Yesh is an atzmi? A davar bifnei atzmi means that he's on his own. He doesn't need anybody anymore. It could be once he did need someone to make him, but now he manages on his own. Whereas, when you say atzmi, you're saying, like the Rosh and the Maimon, Metzias HaMe'atzmus, say he never needed anyone, he was always there. It's a pretty different thing. If you look in Shah Yichud V'Emunah, he's talking about that the Eibishter was Mahavi Yeshmiah in the Metzias of the world, and he went through Tzimtzumim, and the Shem Elokim is master on what? On the Ishavos of Teres Abal Shem Tov that says that what? The Kol Rega V'Rega, he needs the Shem, the Keich HaBoyer, Keich HaPel B'Nifel. On that there's a Hester. The Nivra, for example, if you ask any Nivra, are you a Yesh? Of course he's a Yesh. You manage on your own? Yes, he manages on your own. Were you ever created? He has to be made at some point, if he's only a Bas Eichel, that he was created at some time. He'll just say, now he manages on his own, he doesn't need the Eibishter, Chas v'Shalom. That Cheshbon means that he agrees he was not self-made, Ein Davar Eises Atzmai, but he manages now on his own. Comes again Teres Abal Shem Tov and tells you, no, Kol Rega V'Rega, you need the Shem Havai there. The fact that you don't know that and you don't feel that, that's the Hester of Shem Elokim. But you did but you are maskim that originally you needed the Shem Havaya. You needed the Keich HaBoyer. The Chiddush of Simon Chav is not just that that the Nivra feels that he's now on his own, is Nidma that he's an Atzmi. In other words, he has no recollection and no heritage to tell him that he once was created. In fact, there's some Chachamim B'Lashon Sagino that believe the Olam is a Kadmon. It always was. It didn't need to be created. It was always there. Whatever system they work out, how they explain that, it's not negir the shtus what they're saying, but the vod that they can come up with such shtusim to say that there was no mocker is because it's misav b'keich atzmus. That you can only get from atzmus. From a Helam of Shem Elokim, it would only be master that is being nisava now. It wouldn't.
Besides for Pali, it said the SEC Wells.
Pari is an example.
Wells reaches level of atzmus. All the other if they reach that level.
No, the ashit is the whole that the item is a kadmon. It comes from whatever their shittas are. I'm not going to go into their shittas. Was it? Maybe not themselves mamish, but the Metzias Hayesh, the Metzias the this mountain over here, or this rock, or whatever it is, they hold it. The atoms, whatever it was always there. I don't know exactly what the shittas are, but there are shittas which are brought down in the Sefer Hakira to be shailul, the shittas of the Kadmai, the guys that hold over the world as a Kadm. How could they even have a sorrow to say that the world wasn't created? That could only be B'keach Atzmus. That it's an Atzmi, they made itself, that it always was there, it has no ilu v'sim shekadmalei. That wouldn't be enough for Helen V'Hester. Helen V'Hester just tells you that you don't see now you're being nishava, but you have to understand that you came from somewhere. But to say that he's an Atzmi, that's the lashon of the mind over here. That is not enough just a Hester. That you're going to have a Pa'ula of Keich Atzmus. And that's what the Pshat, the Yesh HaNivra is Yesh HaMiti, that there's a certain level of Yeshus which can only come mitzad ha'atzmus.
The other lashon is?
It's just this adova bifnei atzmai. Look in Shayich B'Emunah, you'll see the lashon is the lashon Peri Dalet. Midas hatzimtzum u'niyis hispashtus hachayis milere du leisgalis al anivron nach yesem kaim begiluk yim behest panim shachayis mistate beguf anivro ki ilu guf anivro hu dova bifnei atzmai ve'ene hispashtus hachayis v'ruchnis ala dova bifnei atzmai afshebem is ene dova bifnei atzmai, but nevertheless he seems to himself that he's a dova bifnei atzmai. What does it mean, he's a dova bifnei? It's on his own. He doesn't need anyone.
What's the Mukah?
That no. Dova b'fnei atzmai shayich b'emunah. That says that how do you get to a yesh through Hester? Mashiach in Simon Chofi says that he's a yesh that to what extent is his yeshus? That ainly sibur shekadmalei. That's already a bigger level. Or the lashon of the mind here atzmi, and that is an Indian that comes from Yeshua Amiti. That only the Yeshua Amiti can give. How do they work together, both in Yonim? That's a discussion for itself. But just to be mechalik, the two in Yonim, or the chidush, so to speak, that's being brought out by by Simon Chof, which the Rebbe brings down here, is the Indian that he's ki'ilu and atzmei, ki'ilu mitziyusim atzmus. It's more than what it says in Shayach Yevamuna, Akopanim Ibnufik, what it says over there. There's just a double bifnei atzmei. Now that was the end of Perik Dalet. In Perik Hey, the Rebbe continues the same in Nukuda of Tachlis Habriya, again to prove that we can see that the Kavon is down here. And this is where a lot of people also get stuck, is by the piece of where it talks about the Rebbe, when it brings down the Rebbe. First he brings to the Rebbe Marash, it's a simple thing that Hagam, it says in Eitz Chaim and other places that the Kavon of Terei Mitzvahs is to be Mosif Eiris and Atzilus. Says the Rebbe Marash, you should know that the Staki are Mosif Eiris and Atzilus, but they're the Kamunach Bekuf, so they're separate. They're not. Any Hesofas that you're making in Giluyim and Olam Yisrael is not for those Olamas. They're waiting there, they're on standby to come down here, L'asud Lavi. So that's the Rebbe Marash. Then he goes weiter to the Inyan of Iev Shalom is the Kavanah is Olam Yisrael Hoyel V'lehem Yiridim Upon Visparach, and he brings down the Rebbe Rashab. When he comes to the Rebbe Rashab, he says you can't say the Kavanah is Olam Yisrael because it's a Yerida, and he uses the Lashon V'gam Shaha Atzmas Muvdul Me'inyan HaGiluyim. You can't say the Kavan is Olam Yisrael because Atzmus is movdul from Giluyim. So a lot of people mix up this as the same thing as it says in the previous period, that you can't say the Kavan is Olam Atzilus because you can't say Atzmus is Bishvil Giluyim. So I want to make a clarification that what it said before is you can't say Atzmus Bishvil Giluyim, we spoke about last time. This Indian Atzmus is moved from Giluyim is a completely different, not completely different beer, but it's a different beer from Atzmus Bishvil Giluyim. What does it mean? You can't say the Kavanah is Olam Yisrael because Atzmus is moved from Giluyim. So if you go back to the source of the Maimah, the beer is the Aricha Sa'inyan you find Takinayin Ches, but we'll just, and the Mocker is actually much earlier. It's all the Rabbi spoke about it. You have in Buri Azeh. They use a moshel. If somebody builds a house, let's say, Al Derech Moshe, he's buying a binyan. Why is he buying a binyan? Obviously he has some tachlis. He has a kavanah. He wants to reach somewhere. He wants to have a certain finished product. Like anybody who builds a binyan usually has an architect which writes out on a piece of paper exactly what the building is going to look like. And he must have that in the beginning, otherwise where's he going? So he has a kavanah. The lashon of the Maimon is a kavana pnimi sheyesh lo b'tchila ba'atzma. He has some kavana in his own mind before he starts. When he gets to the end, he's nishlam the binyan. Now we know what he had in mind at the beginning. This is the lashon of seif ma'aser machshavat tchila. The end result is what you had in the beginning. That's what you wanted in the beginning. Therefore, since we're talking about a kavana that's in atzmus, we're going to have to say that dafka olam hazeh, since this is the end of Seder Ishtalshlus, and this is the Seif Maisa, we're going to have to say that this is Olam Machshava, this is what was in Kavanas Atzmus. So again, we're not looking to prove that the Kavanah is Olam Hazeh, we're looking to prove that once we have Olam Hazeh, we see the Seif Maisa, now we can safely say the Kavanah is over here. Why? Again, because why would you want to say the Kavanah would be not Olam Hazeh, but to go back to Atzilus or higher Olamus? You'd think that there's a greater Kavanah in Olam Elyonim because they have the high Gilui over there, which we don't have down here. So here's where the Rebbe Rashab adds on, we can't say the Kavanah is Olam Elyonim because since we're talking about a Kavanah of Atzmos, there's no Maila in Atzilus that you should say that the Kavanah of Atzmos is in Atzilus. Why? Because Atzmos is moved from Giluyim. What do you have in Atzilus? Chachma, Bina, Das, Sfiras, Midas. Lav Mikol in Midas Iyu Klal. The Atzmos is not shaykhus to Midas. He's not closer to Midas than he is to anything else. So therefore, Atzmos is moved from the end of Giluyim. So there's no Maila to say in Olam Hazeh, in Olam Elyonim, Mashenki in Olam Hazeh, which this is the final result. And befrat when we have the Hisofa of Simon Chof and Igeres HaKodesh, that Olam Hazeh is nishava from Keich HaAtzmos, so now we have a reason to say Olam Hazeh is the Kavanah. Again, we're being Shoel Olam Elyonim. We're not saying the Chiyuv Dafka that he has to be that he's moved from Olam Elyonim, he's not moved from Olam Hazeh. He's moved from everything. But if we're going to choose between Olam Elyonim and Olam Tachtonim, and Befrat Olam Hazeh looks like it fits into the Kavanah a lot more. The Kavanah Tchil is a Kavanah Atzmos. Olam Hazeh is Shaykhis more to Atzmos. Mashenkin Olam Elyonim, what's the Maila? Giluyim. Atzmos is moved from Giluyim. So this is a completely different subject to what we had before in the previous period, that you can't say that Atzmos is Bishvil Giluyim. That was a whole chesed we had before. What does it mean Atzmos is Bishvil Giluyim? You can't say an Etzem is made for a Gilui. A Gilui is made for an Etzem. A picture is made, a mirror is made to reflect the person. You don't want that your face should be in the mirror. The Etzem is not Bishvil the Gilui. Right? We went Barichas on that evening. So, Atzmos, there was one beer. That's nothing to do with what we're talking about over here. We're talking about over here that if you're looking for the Kavanah of the Boina, he was Boina Binyan and he had a Kavanah Tchile Batzmusay, where is this Kavanah? So I'm looking around, I would say maybe Olam Elyonim. You can't say Olam Elyonim. Well, what's the mile of Olam Elyonim? Atzmos is moved from Gilui. Mashenkin Olam Hazeh, which is Seif Maisa. And here you see the Inyan of Atzmos. Why? Because his Havusay is from Atzmos like we had in Simon Chov. So it makes sense to say that Olam Hazeh is all of Machshavat Chil. We can see the Kavanah to Atzmos. We see it inside this world more than in Olam Elyonim. So that's the beer in Ayin Ches from the Ramesh was saying the Atzmos which we Gilui.
Why isn't the fact that it's the Seif Maisa Haflik, that's the full Kavanah?
It's not a total Haichacha just because it's Olam Machshavat Chila. In other words, you can't always say that the Seif Maisa. The truth is that is the original beer. The original beer is Seif Maisa Machshavat Chila. The fact that this is the last theme is Olam Machshavat Chila. But the Sof Kosov, there's lacking a bit of beer. You could say that he was buying the last thing over here, and the Kavanah is not here. It's like you built the last thing you built. In Gashmish, you build the foundation before you build the building. But let's say we're going Milmaila Lamatis, he built the building, and then he built the foundation at the end. I'm thinking Kaviyach, I'm just looking for an example. So it could be built Olam Hazeh, and the Olam Hazeh, then we have to go back to Olam Elyonim. Like we said last time with the shit of the Rambam, that after you have the Shlemas of Tchias HaMesim, then there's Olam Elyonim. So the Rebbe says over there, no. What's the mile of Olam Elyonim? Giluyim, Spheres. Atzmos is movable from Spheres. Why should there be a mile over there? Masha'inkin over here in the Seif Meister, we see the Inyan of Atzmos. Why? Because his Havas HaGashmish is Matzmosei. So therefore, here it makes sense to say that this is what was Olam Machshav Tchila. You see the Kavanas Atzmas and Olam Hazeh, you see the connection.
And in the Taitra Muvdal was that Etzem doesn't have any
expression in Giluyim. In other words, you don't have Etzem in Giluyim. The Atzmus is not Chochman, is not Chesed, and is not Gvura. These things don't have a Shaykhis Miyuchedes with Atzmus. Mashenkin Olam Hazeh, La'achar that it was created, we're not talking about beforehand, but La'achar was created, we see that this has a Shaykhis to Atzmus. Why? Because who can make such an Olam? Atzmus. He says the Kavanah must be over here. Safe Mice is Tachel Machshav Tchila.
So Perek Dalet and Perek Hey, you're explaining both that. It's not explaining more of a reason why Hashem is interested in Olam Hazeh, but it's just dispelling why.
After we have Olam Hazeh, we can then backtrack and say, now we see the Kavanahs over here. But no way you're going to find a place that's going to say, you know why you want Olam Hazeh? Because kach v'kach. If there's a because, it's already not Nisava. So it doesn't fit with the whole Inyan Nisava. It's over the Acher, we have Olam Hazeh. We see now that Atzmas Kavyachal put himself in over here, used Keich Atzmas to create Olam Hazeh. So here we can see this is Shaykhis Atzmas. This must have been Machshav Tchila. The Kavanas Atzmas is there. Masha'enkin in Giluyim. Why would it be in Chesed and Gvura and these inyan which are just Giluyim? Atzmas is moved to from Giluyim. There's no Keich Atzmas in Chesed or Gvura.
So we're not explaining the Nisava, but we're saying it fits.
Yeah, you put it like that if you want. Or better still, we're saying that if you're looking for a Maila in Olam Yonim, there's no Maila when it comes to Atzmas. The whole thing is, in other words, it comes out like this. In Chassidus, it comes out, we're being Mechadish something. The Alter Rebbe was Mechadish something in Perek Lamed Vav. And all these Biurim are his sofas on that Nakuda. If you go by Muskul Rishon, and this is how people think about it even nowadays, Olam Hazeh is the worst of all the Olamis, the lowest of all the Olamis. We're going to tidy this place up, and at some point we're going to get to Tchias HaMesim, and then after that, we don't need Olam Hazeh. The best thing is Ruchnius. The whole thrust of the Alter Rebbe is no, down here, Gashmi is down here. But the Seichel HaPoshet, the Muskul Rishon is Olam Yonim. There's definitely a mile in Olam Yonim. You call them Elyonim, or you call them Tachtonim. They're Elyonim, we're Tachtonim. We have the problem, they're okay. So if we look at the Kavon Elyonim, Mistama, it's in the best thing. So the Alter Rebbe says that the Mahalach is not, doesn't make sense. When you're talking about Atzmus, Elyonim, Tachtonim is Hainu Hach, it's the same thing. There's no mile in Elyonim over Tachtonim. In fact, Elyonim are Yeridim upon Visvarach. Elyonim are just Giluyim. All the miles you can think about in Elyonim is all Klape us. That we look in the Madregas of Maila Mata, so we say those are Elyonim, we're Tachtonim. Mistama, there's a Maila over there. So the Alter Rebbe does away with that. And he says, no, Elyonim is not a Maila. When it comes to Atzmus, there's no Maila. So now I have a choice. I can choose wherever I want. I can choose Elim Yisrael, Elim Tachtonim. Elim Tachtonim, I don't know that it's the Tachlis HaKavon of everything. I know his Kavon is why Olam Hazeh was created. He wants the Eibishter wants to deal with Tachtonim. But is that the Tachlis of all the other Elims? I don't know. But once I come to the conclusion that here we see Koyach HaAtzmos, Masha'enkin in Elim Yisrael, there's no Koyach HaAtzmos, there are only Giluyim. Now I can safely say that this is the Kavon. That the Kavon of Direi B'Tachtonim is not just a Kavon for this world, it's a Kavon for the whole Seder Shtashras. Because Olam Yonim is no Maila when it comes to Atzmos. So I look where I see is a bitui of Koyach HaAtzmos, and I can say this is the Kavon Yonim. And the same thing Atzmos B'Shul Giluyim. There's just one small thing I'd like to add on that some people also get mixed up with. And that is, there is a Maimah in Ayin Beis, and also the Rebbe spoke about it in Tafshin Chav Hei, Shavuos Tafshin Chav Hei, where it says over there that the Kavanah is in Olam Hazeh because you see that the Eibishter didn't stop creating in these Olamis, he continued all the way down. So by the very fact that he continued to create another Olam is a raya that the Kavanah is in the last Olam. That's what it seems to be saying. I'm just saying a very big kitzer now. You'll see this in Kudah. But since the Eibishter continued to create, is a raya that the Kavanah must be in the last Olam. The emerson is, if you look in the way of the mocker of this Inyan is coming from, which is in Ayin Beis, you'll see that this Biur, that the Kavanah is in the last world that was created, is only a Biur in Biyah. Not Benegir to Olam Yisrael, only Benegir to Bri Yitzir and Yasir. Why? Because we've been mechiach that you need to have yesh mi'ayin. Where does yesh mi'ayin begin? In bria. So if you already have a yesh in olam habriya, then comes the question: is the kavanah maybe olam habriya? Of atzilus we said it's giluim. We've done away with atzilus. But when we get to olam biyah, so there you might say, what, you want a yesh mi'ayin? You can't say there's no yesh mi'ayin in olam habriya. In olam atzilus, the Rebbe brings down the Maimon Perikei that atzilus is called sometimes yesh mi'ayin, but it's not really yesh mi'ayin. It's still a lokus. But olam habriya is pure yesh mi'ayin. It's a nivra. It's a different type of nivra, an edler nivra, but it's still a nivra yesh mi'ayin. Maybe the kavanah is olam habriya. On this point comes the biur that if the kavanah would have been olam habriya, he could have stopped there and then. The fact that he made another yesh after that, and then after that another yesh, olam asiyah, the kavanah is always going to be the last one. But again, that's a biur only in olamus. When you have olamus biyah, you say the last one is the kavanah. Okay, that's more or less it in a nutshell. And I think after we can go back to Ayin base. Unless there's another yom that want to be discussed.